Striped Life Officials Podcast with Jeff Landers.
Hello and welcome into the Striped Life Officials Podcast. I am Jeff Landers, and it's been a few months since I've last spoken to you. Life has gotten busy. Life has gotten in the way. I've been running a lot of games, spending time with the kid and the wife, and taking on some responsibilities at church as far as getting some teenagers confirmed into our church. And so thus I dropped the ball with multiple recordings of the podcast that I had planned. And then life happens and I leave you guys for, it's been about 2.5 months. We are just entering the new year's 2023 as we record this episode. So my apologies to once again leave you hanging without consistent episodes. Let's say it that way. But a lot of life has happened. And funny thing is, God has been with us throughout the entire journey. Just having his presence in our lives has been great. So before we get into the episode, which is kind of ending the football season and transitioning into basketball, hit us up, stripedlifepod@gmail.com with any questions or show topics that you may want us to talk about. I would be more than happy to discuss these things with you. That's why I do it. Again, just sharing my journey and want you to be a part of it as well. So email stripedlifepod@gmail.com for comments, questions, show topics. And part of life that's been happening has been my 2007 Chevy Equinox has really wanted to give me everything it can handle. You know, much like when my child was a toddler, wanted to give me everything I could handle. My Chevy Equinox has been doing the same thing. So back in October, I was returning from a game and I picked up my car at the meeting point, took a ride with one of my best friends, who is also a teacher at a high school here locally. And our game wasn't very far away. It was 20 minutes down the road, but there's no point in both of us driving to this game. So we just met at a location, which happened to be at a truck stop that has a restaurant. Well, we get back from our game, which was a freshman JV football doubleheader. I white-hatted the freshman game. He white-hatted the JV game. And we get back to the location, and my car would not start. Go figure. So he is driving a hybrid at this point, which he had just gotten this hybrid at that point. And he's like, I haven't figured out this battery yet. It's basically brand new to me. It's a hybrid battery. I'm not even sure if we can jump your car with mine. Well, so my cables weren't going to work. Well, other teachers at his school happened to be on the coaching staff of, if you remember, we're going back to my last video, the holding call that I called against this. And we're going to show it right here. So here's the video. Here's the video of this 50-50 holding call that brought back a huge run between Idaho Falls and Bonneville High School. So I called the holding on that play. You can go back. We'll dissect it in previous episodes if you really want that dissection. But the black team, the offensive team, called the holding call. That's the school at which one of my best friends works at. And he called that coaching staff, who happened to be at the restaurant inside the truck stop where my car was parked and wouldn't stop. Members of that coaching staff came out and helped me jump my car, which, by the way, was unsuccessful. But they spent a good 15 minutes helping me get that with my car. And my point is, coaches can still be great people, especially if you develop a relationship with them. You just can't let them influence you in the moment, in game time. because of their biases toward wanting to win. But we have such a stigma in our profession that we should keep away from coaches, or coaches are bad people who are going to scream and yell and whatnot. No, not all the time. This particular coaching staff came out and helped me despite a holding call, which they may have forgotten about at that point. I'm not quite sure. But there was a holding. It was a 50-50 call, according to our commissioner. Maybe should have kept the flag in my pocket. A couple weeks later, needed help. They were there to help. And shout out to that coaching staff and my friend who came through to help me. So as we're finishing out the football season, a lot of you guys had playoff games. We're just a little bit beyond football playoffs in most states, way beyond it here in the state of Idaho. How was the end of your football season? Were you happy with your games? Were you unpleased with your games? Were you disappointed? How much effort did you put into the regular season? Did you kind of coast through the regular season and expect to get a playoff game or two or a semifinal? I had one playoff game. I'm only in my second year, and I was very happy with that. But I can't stop trying to improve. And here's what I want to show you. Here's my graphic to end the football season. Were you successful in your football season? Did that create complacency? Don't get complacent. For me, I was happy with getting one playoff game, a first-round game, a 3A game, which is middle of the road as far as classifications here in our state. But I can't let that create complacency, because if I become complacent, that's going to lead to failure. And a failure, in my eyes, I think next season will be not getting back to where I was, and maybe trying, the next goal is to advance into the playoffs, is to be there when games have even more important outcomes. So you need to eliminate that bottom failure and just become success to drive more success. Eliminate complacency, eliminate failure. For those of you who are just listening, I have a graphic up on the screen. It's success leads to complacency. Complacency leads to failure. Failure leads to drive. That's what I've been talking about here the last minute or two. Success leads to complacency. Complacency leads to failure. Failure leads to drive. And if we can eliminate those two steps, complacency and failure, and let success lead to drive to more success. I've told you guys before, it's my dream to be a white hat in an SEC championship game or to run in the Final Four. My absolute dream. I need to eliminate complacency out of my game, and that way it doesn't lead to failure. If I can eliminate that doorway to failure. Now, it doesn't mean I won't come up short. Doesn't mean I'm going to get my dreams. Absolutely not. But if I eliminate complacency, maybe I can eliminate the view of failure and say, I gave it all. Was I a failure? No. Because looking back, down the road, whenever it is, I'll have accomplished X, Y, and Z, maybe not to my absolute dreams, but don't let complacency lead to failure. Let your success drive your success. So just some final reflecting on the football season. But we're on to basketball season. Like I said, it's the new year. We're, just a few months away from March Madness if you're a college official. One of the best times of year to be a sports fan. So far, since late October, I have done 65 basketball games. That's not dates, that's basketball games. So mostly doubleheaders throughout November and December. And really, where I find myself right now is probably an 8-to-1 2-man to 3-man crew ratio. So 8 games of 2-man per every 1 game of 3-man crews. And so I really have been just trying to master the clock in 3-man situations. I do enough 2-man where I'm very comfortable with the clock, with having control of the game in a 2-man situation. In 3-man, the clock is uncomfortable for me. So that's what I'm trying to work on right now, is being present in the game and knowing exactly where the clock is. Um, I had a game, a 3-man crew game, varsity boys, small school, with 2 guys that I respect in our association, and one of them is a Division 1 basketball official. And I found myself I felt like I was at camp, trying to make sure all of my movements, all of my positioning was correct, that uh, my mechanics, my signals are great, because I was with these 2 guys who I respect a lot. I wasn't present in the game. Clock was not even a worry, not even a thought in this particular game, because basically what I came to afterward was I was auditioning. I was in front of these 2 guys, trying to prove that I have the merit, that I have a skill and ability to be there with them, and completely, completely lost comfort with the game. Was not present with the game. And like I said, is kind of like being at camp, because you're trying to impress your partners, or maybe not even impress your partners, but let them not notice your mistakes. And that would lead to the mistakes, if that makes sense at all. Um, and recently, to close out 2022, had a varsity boys holiday game, went into triple overtime. Uh, just a great game, great ending, instant classic type of game. And that was my last game of the year 2022. Couldn't have ended it on a better note. A 3-man crew, just an awesome game to be a part of. So 65 basketball games already throughout the basketball season, and that bled into, there was no separation between football and basketball for me. Football bled right into basketball during the playoffs. Started running regular season junior high games. So with that, I do have a few plays and some rule references we can look at. I'm going to show you this first play. It's an out of bounds late in the game, an inbounding play where a player leaves the court, as we say, out of bounds. So here is the play. It's in its entirety. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. If I could find the share screen button. There we go. Sharing my screen. And now we're going to go into the videos, the out of bounds. That way I can control it. I don't have the ability to control it in my digital studio. So for those of you listening, we have an inbounding play. I am the new trail on this full length of the court that we have to go. Notice something right here. The dark team is inbounding, and they have the ability to run the baseline because we're coming out of a timeout after a made basket. So the dark team wants to pass the ball along the end line. Well, the white team's momentum from guarding this player takes her out of bounds, and she's still guarding. She's out of bounds, still guarding the new inbounder. So I want to let it play in real time now that you've seen it in slow motion. So the defensive player spends less than 3 seconds out of bounds. As her coach, you can't hear it on this because of the NFHS network override is not using the real audio. But the coach screams, "Get back," to her player that went out of bounds. Now, what is the ruling out of this? We're a 10-point game. We're in the second half. We're not in the first quarter. We're actually in the fourth quarter, so that graphic is wrong. We're in the fourth quarter. 10-point game. Is this a big call? We are less than 30 seconds left. We're less than 30 seconds left in that game. Now, the rule reference that we could use on that is going to be rule. We could use 933, which I did not add to my. Here we go. I'm going to add this one. Once it uploads. Should have been prepared for that. Here we go. Rule 933, a player shall not leave the court for an unauthorized reason. We could use that one. Now, it's kind of a weak rule in this situation where you have the defender leaving the court to continue guarding the new inbounder after the pass along the end line. Or we could go to 10-4-5A, which is a player technical, as a player shall not delay the game by acts such as preventing the ball from being made live promptly or from being put in play. So by rule, we could very easily assess a technical foul on the player that follows her offensive player out of bounds, the guarding player who follows the offensive player out of bounds. But with 30 seconds left in a 10-point ball game, you saw how the team did get the ball in bounds. They threw it the length of the court. From that point, they ran out the clock. And my point as lead, when I inbounded the ball, I was so caught off guard by it. I was like, whoa, did that just happen? And then the coach screamed, "Get back," and the player ultimately got back. So, should this be a technical foul? By letter of the law, yes. By letter of the law, this is a technical foul because she left the court and prevented the ball from being put into play. But did she really have a huge effect on this play? It's a 10-point game in the fourth quarter. The dark team is trying to run out the clock. We did not call on this. We did not have a whistle on this. One, because I was taken aback by it. I was caught off guard. Two, advantage, disadvantage. The dark team, they're wearing purple in this video. It's hard to tell, but the purple team, the blue team by rule, they got the ball in and they ran out the clock for a 10-point victory. Do you have to call this? We did not. And I would argue that we were correct in not calling this because you can see the player retreat immediately while the coach is telling her to get back on the court. So the person now guarding, the player now guarding the inbounder does not have a huge effect on the play. They got the ball inbounds in time. You can see her. She's guarding. Her momentum takes her off the court, which is the opposite of 9-3. You are allowed to have your natural game momentum take you off of the court, and she corrects her mistake immediately. The black and white letter of the law officials are going to insert themselves and call a technical foul here. I don't think that you should rule that a technical foul. By letter of the law, we can bring it up again. A player shall not delay the game by acts such as preventing the ball from being made live promptly or from being put in play. Letter of the law. Let me know what you think. You can write to me. The email is at the bottom there, stripedlifepod@gmail.com, for any comments, questions, or show topics. Let me know. Was my crew, three-man crew, in this varsity girls game correct for not issuing a call on that? Like I said, I was completely taken off guard by it, taken aback by it, caught off guard. Now, next play I'm going to show you happened maybe a week later. I'm going to show you the full thing, and I'm going to talk over it. So watch the ball handler clear out, and the defender did not like it. So the defender is going to start getting a little chippy with her. And we get the foul call and retaliation. And a second retaliation. So we have double techs in this game. I was the new lead on the far side, had to come up, and we get together and talk. So I'm going to bring this one up so I can control the video a little better. Ball handler. Clear out. Didn't like it from the defender. Little contact there that we missed. Get the foul. Retaliation. And defensive retaliation. We have double technical fouls. We get together and talk. So, first and foremost, I completely missed this clear out by 15 because I am blocked by that defender right here. That secondary defender on the opposite block, I am blocked out by her. I cannot see through her back to see the clear out right there by white 15. Defender did not like that, so she's going to come back, swipes. We missed that, and they get a little handsy with each other from that point on. And partner gets the foul call, at which point the person who initiated the physical contact on the clear out does not like the foul, hits her in the head with the ball. I step up, get the technical foul. Here comes blue 24 with the shove and another technical. So we have double techs here. And I guess technically they're going to be simultaneous techs or full simultaneous technical fouls because it's not against one another. But we can just simplify it and say double techs. We have technical foul on white 15 and a technical foul on blue 24. So here's the rule reference we're going to go with. And that's going to be 10.4.7 of the NFHS rulebook. A player shall not intentionally or flagrantly contact an opponent when the ball is dead, and such contact is not a personal foul. Was the hit by 15 with the ball flagrant? We deemed that was not. I could listen to arguments that it was flagrant. I could, and I would listen to you. We did not rule at the time that was a flagrant foul. This whole situation was kind of a flash in the pan. Again, before I take the graphic down, Rule 10.4.7, a player shall not intentionally or flagrantly contact an opponent when the ball is dead, and such contact is not a personal foul. I would listen to arguments about that being a flagrant foul. I had another Division I referee who is a women's Division I referee talk to us. He's a well-respected member of our association. And he goes, no, I don't have anything flagrant here. So he did agree with us. I would listen to your disagreement. If you think that is flagrant, go ahead and email us again, stripedlifepod@gmail.com. The whole thing was a flash in the pan. I mean, we didn't have any build up to this. Normally, when you see things building up to this situation, you can kind of quelch it before you get to this situation. There was nothing building up between these two players. It all happened in that 45 seconds. You had the clear out, the physical play. The defender did not like it. Starts getting a little handsy. We get the foul on the defender. The person who started the whole confrontation with the clear out retaliates against the defender. And then after that, both players went to their benches, and we had no more after that. There was no more physical altercations between the players. There was no more, for lack of a better word, cattiness or continuation between the players. Like I said, flash in the pan, and it was over. So no flagrant call on that one, but we did have double text, put the ball back in play. That was their fifth. The first foul by the defender, 31, was the team's sixth foul. The technical foul was then the team's seventh. So we did not have free throws. We put the ball back in play at the point of interruption, which I think we did get wrong on that play. We put it in on the end line, but where the foul occurred, it would have been adjudicated properly to put it in on the sideline, right where the trail had called the foul. The next play is a 10-second backcourt that's just barely the coach buys his way out of it with a timeout. So in this video, I am the new trail counting. I have the count because there is no shot clock. And it gets real close. And you can see the coach come in with the timeout. The opposite coach was not happy because he thought I was about to call 10 seconds. We have a full timeout. We adjudicate to where the ball is going to be put into play. I call the timeout, and he was not happy with me. So what you don't see, I'm going to show this to you in full one more time. What you don't see in this play, though, is as I'm blowing my whistle, so I got boop, and I'm coming up, boom, timeout. It hit me that he was calling timeout as I'm in the middle of my whistle. He called timeout as I hit 10 on my count, but his timeout did not smack me in the face that he had called it until I very impatiently was bringing my hands up to call 10. You know, Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands, coming up for 10 seconds. Oh, no, he called timeout. I had not yet administered the 10 to make the call. I was in the middle in the process of doing it. Oh, no, he had timeout, coach. And, of course, that led to this was the part of the holiday tournament. The team in white, the coach for white, really disagreeing with my call, to put it lightly. Here's the video in full again. Thank you to the National Federation of High School Cameras for panning away and not getting me on camera in the middle of that call. But we did award a timeout. I looked in the case book for this particular play, and in the case book, it said the dribbler had been dribbling for 9 seconds when the coach calls a timeout. It doesn't specify in the case book whether you are right at your 10-second count. Now, on video, I don't like how fast it looks like I'm counting, but I know in my head that I usually have a slow count. So maybe I need to slow that down just a little bit. But again, there was no shot clock to go off of. My partner after the game said, yeah, I was paying attention to the game clock on that one as he was opposite table, and he said that I blew the whistle right at 10. So the count was on for the game clock, I awarded him a timeout. What is your philosophy on that? If you have a philosophy, are you and then my other partner, we had a 3-man crew. My other partner goes, I don't know, man. You were already in the middle of bringing your hands up for the 10-second. You might have just sold it and told the coach that he was too late. But you can see on the video, as I get to the end of 10, he's calling timeout. I mean, it's a bang, bang play. Now, a respected AD in our state, athletic director in our state here, as a very good friend of one of the officials who was on the court, who used to be an athletic director in our area. So these two teams were not in our area. The AD of the team that did not like that call says that I got it right. He told my partner after the game, no, he got the call right. So I'm going to hang my hat on that one. A well-respected AD. What do you think? What would you do in that situation? Do you have a philosophy? Would you try to say, nope, boom, 10 seconds? Let me know. stripedlifepod@gmail.com. And biggest thing is to be alert. To be alert in those situations. The coach, is he going to call timeout? Or am I alert enough to say, no, I was at 10 before you called timeout? I mean, it's a bang, bang play. We talk about bang, bang plays for football all the time, whether it draws a flag on a pass interference or not. But that's what I have. That's what I have for you. Those are the 3 plays I'm going over with you right now. We're over 30 minutes on the podcast right now, so I want to leave you with those 3 plays and this quote. Do not have a graphic for the quote, which would like to, have that available, but got spent too much time on the graphics. And speaking of graphics and rules, just officially, here is the 10-second rule graphic. A player shall not be, nor may the player's team be, in continuous control of the ball, which is in the team's backcourt, for 10 seconds. Always give it a breath or two before you blow the whistle. If I could have been just a little more patient, I could have given the coach a timeout before I started to make my 10-second call. But here is the quote to end the show for you guys. Purpose is about pursuing something outside yourself as opposed to pleasuring yourself. Purpose is about pursuing something outside yourself as opposed to pleasuring yourself. And that is from the book Ego is the Enemy by author Ryan Holiday. You can pick it up on anywhere books are sold. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Purpose is about pursuing something outside yourself as opposed to pleasuring yourself. And I think for us as officials, that is the game. That is, our purpose is the game. Make sure it's adjudicated correctly. We wear the black and white stripes to represent the game, even though the game is never, ever just black and white. So I hope your purpose is, maybe throw some brotherhood in there, some sisterhood for you ladies, developing relationships with your fellow officials, but ultimately it is the game. And that's what our purpose is as officials, is to make sure that that game goes off correctly. And with that, I'm going to leave you and hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night wherever you may be listening. This is the Striped Life Officials podcast, and I am Jeff Landers. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to Striped Life Officials. Go slow.